I had to. I'm sorry. I had to. I had to cut the tension.
Yeah. There was no tension there.
The way you were staring at him. That was a mean mug from hell.
I don't know why I always get the angry dad look from Jeremy. It's like every episode at some point he's like...
It's a natural anger. Jeremy. There's no dad in there at all. It's just Jeremy.
I expect too much of people. That's kind of the thing. I expect you to act like an adult because you're almost 30 years old or are 30 years old.
You can expect in one hand and want in the other and tell me which one fills up faster.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't care.
Yeah. Welcome to the Washdown podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Green. It's my co-host, Chris Nelson, and with us, our producer, James Moraine.
They let me on camera again.
You need a new line.
Well, I'm happy to be on camera again.
Okay. Well, I'm happy that you're on
It's a
camera
line I
again.
use once every, 5th episode. So.
Is this the quota joke?
I'm just remember the voting thing from way back in the day where the 1/5 thing.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the users that emailed the show and requested my face again. All none of you.
So did you use the 1 out of 5 on purpose?
No, not
or
really.
Just
but
kind of
it's
a happy coincidence.
Yeah, it was just a happy coincidence, I guess.
Hey, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'll explain later.
Okay. All of a sudden, we become American Idol.
Oh, do I get the little X thing for Jeremy? Because
Cue theme music.
it's a no for me.
I don't think that's American Idol.
I think that's
Whatever. They're all the same.
it's not Dancing with the Stars. What's the other one?
It's X Factor,
That's the
wasn't it?
one.
Is it
No, it's the
What's the one
one
with Heidi
with
Klum? Oh Lord,
America's Next Top Model.
No. America's Got Talent.
America's Got Talent with Nick
Well,
Cannon's
then-
untalented ass.
Wow.
Tell us how you really feel.
It's the truth.
Come on, man. You can be a gigolo.
Anyway, what's up
Yeah.
for discussion today, Dad?
So, for discussion today, well, we want to talk about something positive, changes we've seen, and just, we're going to let the conversation kind of go where it goes. So,
Oh, dip.
yeah.
We could go anywhere.
Okay.
I'm on a boat.
Okay. Are you wearing your flippy floppies?
Dude,
Always.
let's do a podcast episode on a boat.
Only if T-Pain's there.
And auto-tuned. All of us are auto-tuned.
I'm not going to lie. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I really should figure out how to auto-tune on this thing. That would be awesome.
Can I wear a Hawaiian shirt?
Oh,
Why-
we need to start having dress-themed
wouldn't
days.
you?
Like Hawaiian shirt days.
I go like old Hawaii 5-0, though, where it's going to be unbuttoned. Maybe a little Magnum PI, show my chest hair.
Minnesota Viking outfit days. That'd be cool, too.
Well, if you're going to go Magnum PI, you have to wear the Hawaiian shirt with the booty shorts.
Oh, where's the booty shorts?
We have to adjust the camera angle back down again.
I might even shave my legs.
Why? Nobody in the 80s shaved their
We
legs.
would have to readjust the lighting for how white his legs are, though. Both of you.
Yeah, I'm pretty tan. I got olive skin, man. I got a year-round tan.
You got nothing, so don't even try and debate it.
You know what? Whenever I was younger,
I've seen people use you to paint match, so don't even start.
when I was younger, I had quite the tan, but I was outside all the time.
That wasn't a tan. That's a sunburn. That's not tanning.
Yeah, red is not tan.
That's what I keep telling Jane. She's not tanning. Those are freckles.
Dude. So, have you seen? You met my dad, right? Mm-hmm. Whenever he came and visited.
Yeah, we had dinner with him that one night for your birthday, and then I think 2 other times he came in town.
For most of his life, my dad was darker than Moran.
Your dad still talks to you? That must be nice.
My dad passed away 2 years ago, but thanks.
I never talks to me.
I talk to my dad daily.
Whoopity.
I want to be part of the conversation. I
If
feel
you're
left out over here.
interested in being a new host on the Washdown, we now have an application opening.
Must have space for us to continue doing the Washdown.
So you were talking about kind of the positives been going on, especially like in mental health when it comes to first responders, healthcare personnel. Something I've really noticed, our cultures are so reactive. That's never been a question in any of our minds. But
Right.
it seems like, especially our viewers out there, we do talk about some of the negatives, but like you said, we don't talk about the positives, and there are a lot. The effort, the thought process has changed. There's been so many programs started, a lot even non-for-profit, and even some of our first responders, we're seeing, municipalities really start to take that effort, whether it be through like those first responders, local unions, or even the city themselves. It's not looked at as a terrible thing anymore. Now, we don't necessarily have all the research and development to where it should be, but I think we've begun to change the stigma a little bit, or look at it as a health crisis, just like it should be treated as.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. There are way more resources now than there were even 10 years ago. So, like, the thing with the IAFF, like they're actually, I don't know if they have it completed yet, but they're trying to build their own facility.
Yeah, and in fact,
for that,
they're building. Because they've got one on the East Coast. Was it the Center for Excellence?
Yeah,
they've got one. We're building one in Phoenix right now. I think it is.
Could be. You would know more about.
Yeah,
that
and they're discussing building another one in the Midwest. And, that's huge. So for the listeners that aren't familiar with the Centers for Excellence, they are essentially, residential mental health treatment, but they're not some brick and mortar, just, psychiatric hospitals. They're designed like firehouses. They have bunks, they have community kitchens, they have day rooms. It's set very, to, what's the word? Simulate, like a traditional firehouse. Because as we've talked in episodes before, like some of our best therapy is at the kitchen table amongst ourselves, solving our own problems. Now, also some of our worst therapy is at the kitchen table. But
I was going to say that.
But that's the setting a lot of us are most comfortable with. It's just the 5, 6, 10, whatever person intimate setting where it's off the record. There is no, now some of these Centers for Excellence have the professionals to help guide these conversations, help guide ideas for, improved coping skills. But it's
that and keep you on track too.
Yeah, because, it is typical kitchen, fire station talk. It starts in here, and the next thing you know, you're talking about cars or women.
Yeah.
Then you may may
Yeah.
fix the world's problems instead of fixing your own. But
all conversations go back to two things, right?
What's that?
Pooping and fornicating.
No,
you think I'm lying? Start paying attention. Sorry, I'm not playing on my phone either. I'm looking something up.
Okay.
It's something I had.
And so that's something that I didn't know about, the whole it being designed like a fire station. But I mean, it makes sense, especially because, like you said, it's familiarity, and that can be huge in the recovery process and making you feel comfortable. I do see a little bit of a drawback in that, because I know that for me personally, can get into a mentality whenever I'm at the station of, I'm at the station.
And your walls are built up.
Yeah.
Like we've said so many times, the last thing a lot of times ever suffer for us is the job. So if you put us in a setting familiar to our job, we're great actors.
Yeah. Which could be the downside, but I'm sure that they did some kind of research, or I would hope that they did some kind
Smarter
of
than
research.
us.
Yeah. Three barely functional idiots, but yeah. So did you look up what you needed?
Yeah, so I had to write a paper for one of my classes, and I did it on mental health. So just a couple things that I found that kind of go into the research, what we were talking about. So I know I'm on my phone.
Yeah.
So in first responders, suicide ideations, about 46.8%. The first responders have had some sort of suicidal thought.
First responders that have reported it.
Reported, yes.
Yeah.
Suicide attempts, 15.5. Deaths by suicide are 30.5 per 100,000. That study was done in 2020. So there's another one. So they did a study, and this was done. It came out this year, so in the last few months. It was a 12-month study. Depression rate is 7% for first responders. All right, that's normal population. I'm sorry. For first responders, it's 15 to 26%.
For depression?
Some form or one or another. So, as I said, even when I wrote my paper, I wrote even at the low end, you're more than double population, and we're a small fraction of that. Mm-hmm. So, the studies are being done. And there was another one. Got to find it. Sorry, if I had my computer, I could actually read it on a big screen, and I actually find it a lot easier.
Well, proper preparation.
I didn't expect to.
See, you didn't know you were getting a dad lesson today, did you?
So, one here. Shut up. So I talked about PTSD, the drinking, eating disorders, drugs, that kind of stuff. 80% of both paramedics and firefighters experienced one or more of the following types of traumatic exposures: serious transportation accident, sudden violent death, fire explosion, severe human suffering, and sudden accidental death. So right there can lead you into your PTSD as well. They did a survey of 1,788 emergency medical service professionals across 13 countries, found that 65% reported being on duty when physically attacked. And that's something we haven't really talked about, us being assaulted and that leading into your PTSD and your issues.
Today's Tuesday.
I literally got punched in the face and had to press charges 2 days ago.
There you go.
And I should have seen it coming.
So, and it even says in there 90% of the time, the perpetrator was the patient.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
I
then-
mean,
And here was my issue. There's another study that I had an issue with. So they used 11,027 fire service emergency medical professionals, so no cops. So my problem with this, and it wasn't so much of what they were studying because they were studying the mental health effects. Here's the people that were involved. 94% were white males, and 81.3% had a mean age of 40. That was the pool they chose from.
You know what's interesting is
Mental health affects different races differently, different cultures, different creeds, even different religions because of what you're brought up as and how to deal with stuff. And as I pointed out in this, the study they're doing, it's great. It's a good start. Don't get me wrong. But when you're going to study a profession like this, you got to make it,
as
so
broad
diverse.
as the profession.
yeah.
I mean, take whoever, and it could have been, that's who signed up to help. I don't know. That's who knew about it. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
But, and they could have just pulled information, and that's what they happened to get. I don't know. I don't know how they got the people they got.
Yeah.
But you need to do men, women, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, and then everything in between.
Sexual orientation's even a
Yeah,
big one. Like
I
we talked
brought
about
that up.
like with our law enforcement officer that does like procedure and stuff, like just different policies and different things that pertain to them. It's all perceived so differently.
It is because we'll read it one way, and then if you're gay, you might take offense to it. We don't know. Or if you're a gay man, you want to have long hair, and you can't. Or you're just a gay woman, you might want to have short hair, which isn't a problem. But what if you're a straight woman?
Yeah.
And you want to have long hair because that's what you identify as.
Here's the thing, at least
So-
that study, shows to me is that, and it kind of goes back to when we had your wife on and just talked about cultural competency.
Yeah.
We're not trying to address mental health, amongst first responders, law enforcement officers, EMS, fire, nurses, with the same blanket approach we approach society. The cultural competency, and that's one of the positive things I've been seeing is that we're finally saying, wait, this is different. Let's backpedal a little bit here and see, A, how it's different, and B, how can we address it differently? Like just what we talked about a little bit ago with this IAFF Center for Excellency. That's huge. And it's just even with the studies, it's on us, though, too. Like, we have to participate in those. When they do these things, don't say, I'm not doing that shit.
So,
I don't have time for that. Like,
I brought that up in my paper too.
the more we engage in it, the more they know.
Well, and I think that's where and we'll talk about this probably in a few weeks or whatever, with one of our guests about leadership. That's where it comes down to leadership of making it clear to everybody, the membership, guys like us three, that, hey, this is important. It's important for you to participate in this, and this is the reason why.
So I think you have to sell it,
Yeah.
essentially. And this is my opinion. I think the best way to sell it to people in these professions is by you participating in this study. It's going to help these people. And you're going to be in that group too, but that's not how you're going to sell it.
Yeah.
Because we're all doing this. It's not for a paycheck. It's not to be pounding our chests and they look at me, look what's on my back, look at my tattoo. We genuinely want to help people. And that's what we're doing.
And it has to be the same mindset too of, the same people on the, in these careers that say like, oh, this younger generation, and not even that they're soft, but like, we got to train them. We got to keep this skill, in the fire service, but we talk about training the next generation up in the fire service. It's, the art of firefighting. We have, it sometimes can get lost as fire departments face budget cuts nationally, and housing construction becomes different. We look at how most fire departments look at how they address things. What's the most cost-effective way to preserve life and property? We're seeing more or less and less aggressive interior attacks, and that's something the older guys want to continue to train upon, because it's an art that has to be maintained, because when it needs to be done, it has to be done proficiently, or lives, not only the lives of the people you're supposed to protect, but your lives of yourself and your crew are in danger.
Right.
And it's the same with our mental health. Like, we have to be able to set the standard and set this, not the way things were done, but this idea that it can be trained and passed down. So, like when we talked about effective leadership, like that's where it starts. Like, hey, this is just kind of how it's done. This is how, when you're struggling with this is how we look at things. This is how we do things. And that mindset has to continue to be passed down, and growth has to come with it. New and innovative ideas every generation that's passed down. Hey, I love how my old crew did that. Here's how I want to do it, and then some with my crew. It's the same way as it is on fireground training as it is with mental health.
I think our last guest made a good point with that, with new generations coming in, and they have a different mindset than we do. The generation after us that's already in has a different mindset about things than we do.
Right.
And it's going to help change that culture, because I've even noticed, this is a positive, I've noticed that some of the older guys have changed their tune.
Yeah.
Things they say, things they used to think, where you're not hearing that same rhetoric we heard for years. Let's suck it up.
Yeah.
Now, it's still out there, but I think I've noticed more and more guys not saying that.
Yeah, it's still out there, and it's still getting passed down to members of the incoming generation. But it's like you said, Moran, we have to continue to adapt and improve and grow. And the example that you gave as far as like interior fire attack that's the perfect example, because building construction is not the same as it was 15, 20, 30 years ago. Things burn hotter, they burn faster, buildings collapse faster now than they did back then. So you have to adapt your tactics to that reality.
And it's the same
thing with mental health.
And you could almost, I hate to say this stupid analogy, but it's the same with mental health. It's been burning hotter and faster. It's so many more aspects to it now. 15 years ago, when you guys even came on, social media wasn't very big. I was still in my bedroom designing my MySpace layouts. But just how...
You know what? When we came on, there was no MySpace yet.
Yeah, there was.
But think about...
It was brand new. When it was 2004?
Oh,
When
man.
MySpace came out?
That might have been in the Xanga days.
I don't know what that is.
I was very proficient in designing Xanga layouts.
Yeah, but I know MySpace was around
Because we came on in 04.
probably 02.
Maybe I didn't have one until after I came on.
I think I got mine like my sophomore year, so 05. So it may have been.
Yeah, I mean, I know it was right around that, because
If I had it, then Tom was still probably my only friend on it.
Yeah. Man, I miss MySpace.
But
I think it was better than Facebook, to be honest.
But so many things are in our face now, right? Like sadly, I can get on my Facebook timeline and see all the sad, and it's probably my own fault, for just immersing myself in the culture. But, you get on, you see building collapse, injures one, firefighter suffering from PTSD takes his own life. It's all in your face.
Yeah.
From where, not that it happened. I'm sure the rates were significantly high back when you guys came on, but we weren't aware of it. And now we are.
Well, the information across probably the whole world it's right there at your fingertips now. Everywhere, everything, all the time, and it's constantly updating, constantly feeding. That's why newspapers struggle now, because print is dead, basically. Everything is on the internet, everything's on social media, and it's a constant. It's not, what do you want to call it, a 12-hour news cycle anymore or whatever. It's 24 hours,
You remember back
365 days a year.
I mean, we've all heard the stories way back in the day. There was a morning edition and evening edition in the paper. This is what happened overnight. This is what happened during the day.
Yeah.
And so on and so on.
Yeah. I mean, I can get on my phone, or you guys can get on your phone right now, and we can look up the top stories. In 10 minutes, there'll be 10 new top stories.
Oh, I even got the little iPhone widget now. It pops up.
Yeah.
So you see.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I turned mine off.
It's kind of cool.
I don't like being depressed all day.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I mean, because it seems like
Seriously, every one of those top stories.
Saturday, Sunday mornings, 1 dead, 2 dead, 3 dead in overnight shootings. There's stuff, and you're just like, good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you see. You're bombarded with bad stuff all the time, and there's a reason for that, which we won't get into. But
Well, because it sells.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well, just
ratings.
like last night, I'm minding my own damn business. Pull it up, and it's like, KU's head football coach is leaving. I'm like, great. Why can't I have anything nice in life? Like, it's just blow after blow with them.
You've read that story, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody needs to be fired.
I haven't read the story yet.
Oh,
It's bad.
it's just
It
as bad,
stems from
just as
his
bad on
days at
Jeremy's
LSU.
Yeah.
Louisiana boys. as it is.
Yeah. It's
I just haven't had time to read it.
Oh,
yeah.
not good.
It's, yeah.
But yeah, so going back to our point though, it's just like we have to adapt to building construction and synthetic materials burning hotter and faster. We have to adapt to how quickly mental health can just take a turn, develop. Just all. It's been interesting. One of the.
I
Sorry,
want
go ahead.
I want to interrupt you right there, because it's kind of that. I'm going to give you an analogy here. Overnight success. You see this musician all of a sudden pop out, and he's got the #1 song. It's like, where'd this guy come from? Well, he's been slogging it out for the last 10 to 15 years in the bars, doing the circuit. And
Nah, it's
he's
not like that
known
anymore. It's
locally.
Instagram and YouTube.
Right. So, okay.
Still, those
back
stories
in-
are rare.
Yeah. But back in my day, because, I'm a grandpa, I'm old, that's how it was.
I thought it's because he was senile.
Papa Jeremy.
This overnight success thing took 20 years to make, right? Mental health is the same way. And we've talked about it before. It's a cumulative effect. So while it might seem all of a sudden that you ran that bad call or this or what, and all of a sudden everything just crashed, it hasn't been all of a sudden. There's been signs, there's been warnings along the way that, okay, you need to do something. It's getting worse. And we typically ignore those signs and symptoms until we get to the point where, we've got a gun in our hand, or, we're drinking to the point where we're passing out and somebody says, hey, dude, what the hell?
I'd be curious, Jeremy. I think a majority of the time the word ignore would be appropriate. But I really do wonder, too, sometimes if it's just lack of recognition.
I think that's a lot to do with it. And that's something that, we talked about whenever my wife was here. That's why the R in restore is recognize. And it's the very first thing, because you have to recognize those signs and symptoms. And that's why, education needs to be such a big part of the training of the newer generation and even the older generation. Is everybody needs to be made aware of what those signs and symptoms are and how you can combat that stuff.
The other R word that goes along, I think that maybe sometimes the opposite, of recognition, or the other bad word would be resiliency. And one of the confusing things is that, growing up, I didn't have hard-ass parents or anything. I had firm parents. My upbringing was fine. but that you were just taught like what's worth crying over, what's not, what's worth being sad over, what's not. Like I was always told, if I did something bad, you don't get to be sad about your you could be upset, but you don't get to be sad. They were your choices.
Yeah.
And there's just always been that fine line of like the internal struggle of resiliency. Like, is this something I need to address? Am I feeling sad because of my own choices? Things like that. And, with your history as well that, we've talked about before, that's a struggle I couldn't even imagine. Like, it needs addressed. You need to recognize it. But there is that almost that internal, or I'd be interested to hear your side of it, of that internal battle of resiliency. Like, but these are my choices that are leading to this. And so, if you want to shed some light on that, that's what I'd be interested to hear, is that struggle between recognition and resiliency and when it's appropriate and not.
So, and I get where you're going with that. The thing with us, and I can't speak to the wider culture, but kind of our culture is what I've seen is we delude ourselves or lie to ourselves, especially whenever we're in the midst of all that stuff. We can fool ourselves into thinking that we're fine, that we're handling everything, that this was an outlier or that was, whatever. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that problem. Or you can have, like in my own personal case, which I think we could probably dedicate a whole podcast to my special brand of stupidity. It was almost like being two different people. I did this and I did that, and they didn't match up, and I was able to live that way for a while, and I was in constant battle with myself. The thing about recognition and resiliency is, and maybe I misunderstood where you were going with that, they're not the same thing. They're two separate.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
They're polar opposite things.
Yeah, they're two separate things. And resiliency basically is your ability to work through things. So you need the recognition part to recognize that there's an issue or what's going on. And then you need the resiliency along with that to work through that process.
Some of the things I've struggled with is when resiliency begins to mirror ignorance. Like, you just don't think it's that big of a deal. You just don't think it's worthy of this because look at what this person had to go through. Look at, you get in the battle of comparisons, and that's when I think it becomes a dirty word.
Right. And that's not really resiliency. That's,
I guess maybe it is just ignorance.
yeah.
Just simply not knowing any better.
Yeah.
You've thought. I use resiliency because I look at it as like, I can overcome this. I can solve this problem. And sometimes you just can't. No.
Sometimes you need some help to get through whatever you're going through. So, and there's no shame in that. Obviously, that's what we've talked about multiple times.
I think you got to learn how to be resilient too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not it's not something you're born with a little bit, but when you're talking, and it's not really an extreme, but these are kind of extremes because most people don't deal with what first responders do. You don't have that skill yet. Just like advancing a hose line the proper way, or cutting a hole in a roof, or tearing out drywall, whatever you want to compare it to, or even on the medic side, it's a skill that has to be developed, and you got to learn. And we're not taught that from the start. Yeah. So now you're learning it 5, 10, 15 years down the road, and you're way behind where you should be.
Dangerously behind.
Yeah.
Just like you wouldn't want somebody to, you don't want to send somebody with 15 years on the job up to a roof to cut a hole that never has before. On one hand you think, well, he's got 15 years. He should be able to do that. That's not necessarily the same.
Yeah.
And just because you've been in this field 10, 15 years, you think, oh, he's seen a lot. He should be able to handle this. No, that's not the same.
Yeah. It's not necessarily the case, and we'll just go ahead and throw it out there. I mean, I've been on the job for almost 17 years. It'll be 17 years in a few months. I've spent my whole career on a pumper. So do I know how to advance a hose line? Yes. Do I know how to get to the seat of the fire? Yes. Never worked on a truck, though, other than the occasional detail. Now, I've been lucky enough to work with some guys to have a captain who was on a truck for a long time, so I learned a lot. And I've been able to do some of that stuff because of the section of the city we work in. We don't have those resources that other places have immediately. Sometimes we're by ourselves for a little while, and sometimes that ceiling needs to get opened up. So you have to do that. As far as cutting a hole in the roof, I'm not an expert. I know the principle of it. Have I ever done it at an actual fire? No. Yeah. I mean, I'll put a hole in. Is it going to be in the right place? I don't know.
Guess I'll put.
Don't make it a training video, but it'll get done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not proficient as far as truck work goes, but I get it done.
Yeah. I mean, and for me, I've worked in construction, as side jobs and things like that, like we all do. So I know basic building construction. So I know how to take things apart, which helps, I think. But it's different doing it day in and day out or on a more consistent basis than what I've done. But to bring that back, it's the same thing with mental health. Kind of how you were going. It's something that you have to stay on top of.
And it's not like we're even saying you have to go to counseling daily, weekly, anything like that.
No.
But I think there should be a consistent effort at minimum for self-thought.
Yeah.
Self-reevaluation.
So, yeah, self-care is probably the best thing that you can do as far as to ward off those symptoms and going down the wrong path and all that stuff is, being able to recognize it. That's the first thing. And then being able to take care of it yourself. Now, with that comes the ability to realize whenever you're to a point where you need some help that you can't just take care of it on your own. So there's two sides of that coin. But you can stave off a lot and you can be a lot healthier overall if you take care of yourself. Now, whether that means, having good coping skills or, whatever, then that is what it is. But being mentally fit is just as important as being physically fit to have a long, successful, happy career. Because I think all of us want to get through our career, do as much as we can, help as many people as we can, all of that stuff. And then at the end, whether that be 25 years, 27 and a half, 32 years, whatever time you decide to leave the fire service, you want to be able to walk out the door with your head held high and your body intact and your mind intact. You don't want to be one of those guys who retires, 5 years later, you're dead. Or you're a raging alcoholic or, whatever other problems that we could sit here and talk about. Nobody wants that. You want to be able to enjoy the time after. Enjoy your retirement.
Another good thing I've seen, we talked about like the Center for Excellence, but I've seen at the municipal levels, our unions, our FOPs, doing really well with fighting for awareness, like with the city. For example, in our area, our locals did a fantastic job of really getting, now a lot of the time, like EAPs are run through the city's insurance provider. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily you're fighting with the municipality, but you're having the discussions and going to table with that local insurance provider. Of really saying, hey, like, these guys are not city accountants. These guys are not maintenance workers. Here's what these people are dealing with. They cannot be lumped in and only get the same limited resources for assistance that those people get. Like, they are different, completely different careers, completely different mindsets. And so I've seen a change in municipalities, in doing research. I've seen a change in the separation of the two. Like, yes, we can still have employee assistance programs, but if we're going to really start allocating resources, here's where it needs to be most. And then I've also seen, like, with our locals, done a fantastic job of picking up even the slack to the point that we have, a licensed clinician in our union hall now that's available for resources. And we've seen, like, our local does AA meetings, for the members. Like, those things are huge. It's not out of the person's pocket. It's not, getting them in trouble with the city or having a limited number of resources that you can only access from the city. These are unlimited resources, provided to us, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
The members of our local have done an amazing job of getting that stuff done.
So,
and we're seeing it on the national level too.
yeah, on the flip side of that is the membership has to know about those resources.
Yeah.
And I think we can do a better job nationally and locally of making those resources aware. Like the thing you just brought up, AA meetings at the Union Hall. Had no clue. Why didn't I know that?
Because even though we do such great great proactive things, we're still reactive.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's,
Is it really AA though? Because it's not anonymous. I'm pretty sure if I walked in there, I would know everybody.
oh, hey there, bud. Good to see you.
I was wondering why I hadn't been at the bar lately.
Yeah.
But no, it's, and a lot of times it's just, and the thing is a lot of places are still overwhelmed. It is a personnel and a manpower issue sometimes. And
It absolutely is.
It's hard to really go out and, I hate to say recruit for AA, but like it's hard to go out sometimes and make it known when you're so busy playing catch up and being like, oh, you have this disciplinary issue now, or a friend reached out about you. There's so much invested in just trying to keep up. It's hard to be proactive sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's nationwide in so many things.
It's not them not just not wanting to focus on that, but as a union, when you're part of the local and the administration level, like our president, vice president, agents, whatever, they don't have just mental health to worry about.
Right.
They have 100 different things they're dealing with on a daily basis, and I hate to say it to prioritize, but you do.
Yeah.
I mean, how critical is it? Is it?
Well, it's like what James brought up. It's resources.
It is,
And
we can't afford as a membership to keep paying for X amount of agents for so long, because that takes all the money out of the local that we need for other things.
Yeah. No, and I get it. I mean,
But we have one clinician for how many men and women?
so I know that,
mean-
but here's the thing with that. So, yes, there's one clinician down at the Union Hall, but there's a network, and what they're trying to establish is to have a whole network. And
Yeah.
But again, like you were saying,
They're doing fairly well. I mean,
Yeah.
they're trying.
they're
That's a positive change that
they're
we're
making
all
the
looking
effort,
for.
but like you said, we're playing catch up.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the thing. And we're going to continue to play catch up for probably quite a while. Now we can sit here and say, man, we need to move this ball. Like we need to get it down the field now, because in reality, that's just not how things work.
It's very similar when the fire service nationally really started, for example, EMT, right? When they finally said, hey, we want firefighters to have their EMT. They knew that they can't just teach every firefighter in the world the EMT at the same time. But, it's a process. They say, hey, now in the academies, or we're going to make it a requirement to come on, you have to have your EMT. Is it going to be solved overnight? Nope. 5 years? Nope. But in 10 or 15 years, maybe 20 years, and, just like our job is now, everybody's an EMT.
Yeah.
It was a process. It's not done overnight, and it's hard, and people fall through the gaps, and there's mistakes, and there's lessons to be learned from it. But there's mental health is fascinating, because there's things that can be done overnight, but a lot of it is a process. And then just when you think you get it figured out, you're like, oh wait, well look at this new thing we have to address. It's just so back. It's not back and forth. It's just ever evolving, and it's hard. But at the minimum, we've got to kind of get everybody up to speed. Like you said earlier, to at least start working on self-care and self-recognition, and then we can really start focusing on how evolving it is and adapt from there.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, it's definitely a process. And I think, for people like myself, and you guys, I don't want to speak for you, but it's hard to sit here and to know what I went through and think about somebody else going through it whenever I could potentially do something to prevent it. If I can go out and speak with somebody or get somebody to, be where they need to be for some help, or teach them those coping skills that I learned before they have to get to the point that I was at. So it's hard for me to sit here and go, yes, I know it's a process. Intellectually, I can sit here and go through that, but it hurts me, because I don't want to see that.
You know who I'd love to have on the show?
Dr. Phil.
No, like a World War II.
That dog won't hunt.
A World War II like general right before D-Day or post D, like interview him after D-Day, and it should not be this way. I'm going to preface it with that, but weighing risk and reward, right? If a general had it his way, they would have invaded Normandy and not lost a single life.
Yeah.
But they have to sit here and say, here's expected casualties. Here's expected injuries. Here's the overall goal. And the death or injury of every single soldier, for example, that stormed the beach at Normandy, is on that general. And if he's worth a shit, which they all were,
Yeah.
they have to eat that, and they wear it. But they see the overall goal. And sometimes it feels like when we look at the long-term goal with mental health, like we are going to lose people. Leaders are going to bear that weight on their shoulders. We as their peers are going to bear that weight on our shoulders. But it's one of those things we have to look at the greater good, and we have to stay focused and diligent in this process to make these improvements. It's going to suck along the way. But there's got to be diligence with it. And we'll achieve that overall goal. But that's what I'd be interested to hear, is just talk to them and just, how do you weigh that? And I thought about that point when you brought up, like, they have to prioritize. And it could be at a local level, a city level.
Now, I don't think you have to talk to a D-Day general. You could talk to a retired general from any point that's had combat.
We could even bring Bart back on and have him talk about that if he could make it through that conversation.
He was a team leader.
Yeah.
So, I mean, knowing that, I might lose a guy or two on this mission, every mission, to think about when we go on a fire call. What's the potential?
Well, yeah, you have to.
It's always there.
You have to weigh that cost analysis, the risk analysis, and we are, and I was talking about this with Rachel the other day, because we had a fire the other night and, went in, and I was explaining to her how we are one of the last kind of really aggressive interior fire departments in the country.
I used to think that too. And then because of social media, my outlook's changed on that. There's a lot of departments that are still aggressive like we are. Now, if you said in the area, I'll buy that.
Yeah. So, but, you weigh that risk of, especially if you're in the, in the captain's seat that day, and you've got brand new guy behind you who doesn't know anything, or you've got a 17-year veteran sitting behind you that you're confident in their skills. You weigh that risk of, okay, does this look kind of sketchy? Should we really be going in here? And that's a thought process that you have to make. You don't have time to make it. You have to make snap decisions on the fire ground. And, we can sit here and Monday morning quarterback everything about mental health and, the fire service in general.
Just read a NIOSH report. They'll tell you everything you did wrong.
Exactly.
That's every single fire, too, if you actually start looking into them.
Yeah. So, but my point is that there are decisions that we have to make in the moment that we have to live with. But there are also decisions that take more time, like with mental health and setting up programs and all that. There has to be a certain amount of research. And that goes back to, it's a process. We're going to take those losses.
Yeah, when you talk about research, one thing I've learned, and I knew it, but I just confirmed it with this class, it takes time, it takes money.
It takes failure.
It takes failure, and it's the data's got to be the right data, because it's very easy to cherry pick it.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
confirmation bias is...
Integrity is huge
Yeah.
when it comes to it. And then you need partners. You need departments to buy in, whether it's police, fire, EMS, and you need participants. You're not getting that. Money's tight everywhere. Nobody wants to fund more research that's for this.
Money and time. How many departments are understaffed?
I'd say all of them. Because even small departments, they could be fully staffed.
I saw a
Takes
picture
one
on
injury.
Facebook the other day that was like, yeah, sex is great and all, but have you ever heard the words, we're fully staffed today?
I remember those days.
But that's also the point of, can you pull people out of service to do the research whenever you're already understaffed? Because and we've talked about it probably ad nauseum, but call volumes in the police service, the fire service,
It's patient volumes in hospitals.
patient volumes in hospitals are all
Just calls for service in general.
Yeah, are so far beyond
So
what they were
I had
15,
thought about
20
that.
years ago.
So part of the paper I had to write was also coming up with an idea of how to collect your data. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm sure people have done it. I'm sure it's being done out there. I don't know. I didn't go that deep into the rabbit hole. But he's got a phone on his lap. It's connected to his face 99% of the day. And that's not a slide or anything. It's just that's the way we are today. Our phones are always there.
Hell, even our house fires coming on our phones now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your email's on it. You can text on it. You can download any app that's out there. So for your research, to help collect your data, I don't have to see you every day. I don't have to talk to you every day. I'm not doing stuff by the mail. It's an app. Put in your information.
Make a little survey, post a link, here you go, guys.
And the survey is not just one scale of 1 to 10 crap, because it gives you some data, but you need to go deeper. So now you're getting, all right, fill this out. How was your sleep last night? What happened while you were sleeping? Did you sleep all night? How many times did you wake up? How long were you awake? What kind of calls did you run yesterday? But now you're also watching, you have the departments involved who can email you, or you have a way to connect with them. Hey, we had a major incident. These are the people that were there. You know, and now because you've got the department working with you, you've got the members, so you're getting that information you need. Like, oh, I've got 7 people that were at this event that are in my study. I better reach out. But they're also able to feed you information every shift, every day that comes in. It's data mining essentially, but you're getting that feedback that you need to conduct your study, to see what the issues are, what the big ones are, and then you're treating them at the same time. So you have to get counselors on board and therapists that are in their areas that are willing to help.
Well, and you have to get somebody to compile the data.
Yeah, and that's everybody working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to take a large team.
You know what's interesting is you mentioned, like, just one of the things would just be about calls. And because I had one of these yesterday. If you look at a child death, right? That's something that...
Sorry, it's going off like crazy and it's driving me nuts. Group text message about my brother's dog. And it's killing me. So like electroshock over here. Every 10 seconds.
A child death, right? Pediatric death. That could be debilitating for a family. You know, we've seen divorces happen as a result of it. It's middle of March now, and I've ran 2 already this year. How many of you guys run in your career? You know, probably even lost count already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something I keep track of.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. It's not something we keep track of, but subconsciously we do, because it just builds
absolutely.
and it builds and it builds.
So as far as the study goes, that would be one of the things you would look at. Like, hey, you documenting your calls.
Yeah.
You know, your regular run-of-the-mill EMS call is probably not going to affect you too bad.
But when you run 20 a day,
So, and that
build
would
up.
be, how many calls did you run? What were they? Was there anything specific or special that stood out?
And I want to,
Pediatric death is a big one.
yeah, and not to get off the pediatric death. We're going to come back to that, but the call volume thing and the calls that we run that we don't consider or actually your 2 a.m. toe pain. Okay, we'll use that as an example. You run 20 calls of that a day. That leads to a frustration, I think, because you feel like you're wasting your time.
Well, yeah, you feel like you're wasting your time. You feel like you're wasting your skills.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I
And
said
I think that affects guys tremendously.
It does.
And they don't want to talk about it or admit it because, it's just, a bull
But it's
crap
also kind
call.
of when you run 20, 30 calls in a shift,
Yeah.
that you almost get in the mindset of this is a break call. As in, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I don't have to think. All right, man. You're like, all right, let's go.
Right, but
there's a catch to that. I think I'll tell you, like
it's an annoyance.
From a medic perspective, but like one thing I hate, right? Is like, oh, you run this person for toe pain at 2 a.m. and they're like, I want to go to the farthest damn hospital away. On one, you're like, no. On the other hand, you're like, I'm 3 reports down. I could get caught up in that drive, Or,
But see, that's where the break comes in. And I don't mean it the way it sounds.
No,
As in, you're not caring, but you know that you're not gonna start an IV. You're not gonna give medications. You're gonna get your vitals. You're probably not gonna put them on the heart monitor.
and they're probably going to fall asleep on the way there.
And they're probably gonna fall asleep. Or they're gonna talk your ear off, and you might hear a good story.
Yeah.
But now, on the flip side, that's also where we get complacent. And that toe pain could be something serious. Could it be an infection that's just setting in? Could it be worse than that? We're not going to take a look because we don't want to look at feet or take off shoes and socks.
It's a female because females present with heart attacks so
in
many
a weird
different
way.
ways.
Yeah.
Is it a blood clot that's about to break loose?
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes, I know those are extremes. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but in medicine, just never know.
Yeah.
That's why it's practicing medicine.
Yeah.
I've seen it. You don't put them on the 4-lead. You just put them on the little finger probe.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, damn it, the finger probe fell off again. No, it's oh, oops.
But
I haven't done that.
the point that I was making though is you run all of those calls that really aren't emergencies, and it starts to wear on you. Of man, again, it's like and especially if you're on a call like that and you hear a cardiac arrest or a fire or something, a car wreck that is like a true emergency in your first in, but you're over here doing whatever. You're getting a cat out of a tree.
So I've done it. I keep my radio on the primary dispatch, and if I'm standing there on BS and I hear something, I'll just turn it up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. One thing, Jeremy, and something I've kind of noticed with myself, it's not like I get tired of the 2 a.m. toe pains. I found myself in a place where, like, I actually get a sick patient or just a nice patient. I'm like, honey, whatever you need, I am here for you because you are the nicest damn person I've seen all day. I hope I just never get to the point, and I've seen other medics to the point where even those people, are treated like the 2 a.m. toe pains.
Yeah. And,
It's not hard to get there.
Yeah. But that's a
burnout,
huge, that's a classic indicator of burnout where
I was
you're
there.
just sour all
I
the
did
time.
it. I was there. I mean, you saw it. I know you saw it. I didn't see it.
You're an asshole.
Yeah, I was. I won't deny it. And it took being called out and taking an ass chewing, and that's what it
And
takes.
too, like, and looking back on it to Monday morning quarterback, that, like, for our listeners, the first time I ever met Nelson, one of the reasons I thought he was an asshole, I showed up to the station. It was a busy station. I was ready to learn. The station got lots of fire. I barely had any time on the job, and he showed up. He's like, "Hey, nothing personal, but you're on the ambulance all day." I'm like, okay, this sucks, but whatever. And you kind of going back, Chris, that we're talking earlier about passing this mindset on to generations. You were getting to a dangerous point to where, like, not only did we not want to, like, it was not fun for the younger people because of how you were behaving it sometimes.
Absolutely.
And obviously that's not the same now. I just hate you because I don't like you for other reasons.
Well, that's fine. Whatever.
But no, like that,
I got
that's one of
one
those
friend.
things. That's something. Your dog still likes it, I guess.
I don't know anymore.
But it's even with 4.5 coming up on 5 years on.
Yeah.
There are still new medics under me. You know, we get floating medics to our station and whatnot. We all have to, behave ourselves, but conduct ourselves accordingly as to not contribute negative connotations and negative mindsets that can lead to poor mental health to those beneath us.
But me doing that then was to keep me off the ambulance. It was selfish. I won't deny it. Completely selfish. I don't want to be on the ambulance. It's tired of running on it. But what it does to the younger generation, I'm going to burn him out now? How is that right? And that problem got fixed. Don't get me wrong. That's something I changed too. It's like, no, I'm not going to do this. Because now you're not going to come back and work with me. So that was my bad. I won't deny it.
Well, and I think that's something that, you know, maybe we've all been through a little bit of we get to that point where it's just every day. It's like, I'm not doing it today. I'm just not. I've hit my level of bullshit and whatever. Somebody else is going to deal with it.
Yeah. Let me tell you, though, we had 2 floaters the other day, and a patient called, and basically we needed to apply cream to her butt for her bed sores. I made sure both of those little shits knew that they were the 2 youngest people in the room. I made that very known very quickly.
So
I'd have just shook my head and turned around and walked out.
there's a thing about paying your dues. And there are certain things on the job like, hey, you're the sub, you're going to do, you know, somebody's got to crawl into that crawl space, guess who it's going to be?
It was just one of those,
it's not
like,
going to be the 20-year guy.
We've all had them on our cruise where it's a hodgepodge day where the captain has more time combined than the entire rest of the crew.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
Yeah.
And
I've been that guy right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I looked back, I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
Me with my 4.5 years was the second captain firefighter than me, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm not doing that.
I never saw the day coming that I'd be the old guy on the rig. It's happened more than once.
Yeah.
And it's scary. I know last time I got detailed to ride out as captain, I looked around, there was 5 years total between 3 firefighters. I was like,
I think of that movie National Security with Martin Lawrence, where they're like going through the little security officer boot camp. And it's like that last part at the end, and he's like, and in your duty belt. And he pops it up, and he's like, quarters to call the real police. And that's why I feel like some days I'm like, man, if this day goes to hell, we're going to have to call some real firefighters here. It's going to be very bad.
You ever see the video of the guy in the motorcycle wreck? He just kind of hit some gravel and went down. I think it was on a motorcycle. Mm-mm. And his buddy stops and a couple other people. And somebody goes, we got to call 911. And the guy on the ground's like, I am 911. He's the EMT. It goes along with what he's saying. Because I've had that thought, like, man. And it's not that I don't trust the guy. It's I don't know them. I don't know what they're capable of. I don't know what they know. They don't know what I know. You know, and it's like, man, we have to call the fire. Oh, we are the fire department.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, but that comes back to the responsibility of senior guys training the younger guys, because we were all that way once.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that there were times whenever we got on the rig and our captains and drivers looked back at us and went,
shit,
I hope nothing happens today. Because these two are retarded.
Can't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're idiots.
There you go. And it's not so much that they're idiots. We just
don't know.
Yeah, we were ignorant.
Yeah.
Because we're brand new. We're learning.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's on the leader. Like, you know.
But we had good captains and drivers.
Hell, Jeremy, even when I work with you some days and you're riding out, I still ask him, like, hey, remind me what you want today. And, you know, for those that are listening in the fire service, if you work with, like, a new captain, for example, you go to that captain and you say, hey, what do you want today? The 3 big things really are, like, on fires, we want you to do this. On wrecks, we want you to do this. And on medical calls, we want you to do this. And I really think there needs to be a 4th thing, and it's, if anything starts to bother you got any issues, just come holler at me real quick. My door's always open. Boom. Simple as that, an extra 5 seconds in your narrative for the day. And it's just one more door that's open, metaphorically and physically, just to address issues of the day.
There's like a 3-hour period where I'm studying. Don't bother me.
Yeah, unless it's, if you need anything except the hours between 1 and 4 in the afternoon, please give me,
yes.
let me know.
That's my study time. Don't mess with my study time.
I really like that, James.
No, I think it's a good idea.
And I mean,
that
that's
is a
something
great
for both
idea.
of you guys, you know,
Yeah.
you know, you guys go on just as simple as, hey, I want this crosslay with the smooth bore. You get the monitor. You grab the extrication tool or the Halligan. And if anything else, if you got an issue or something's bothering you today, come holler at me. Boom, done.
Put your uniform on.
Shave.
Whoa. Whoa. Shaving's going too far.
Hey, man.
You're messing with my heritage.
Everybody's got their thing.
But you know what I mean? It's just, again, a little thing just to add to a routine. And like I said, we post shit up on the bulletin boards all the time. All this, we're almost inundated now to the point where like, God, get it out of our heads. But we know it's just repetition, repetition, repetition. You advance a hose line, you advance a hose line, you advance a hose line, and drills all of a sudden when it's pitch black, the routine basics are still there.
Yeah.
And it's the same like you put it on the bulletin board, you put it on the bulletin board, you put it on the bulletin board. Well, I'm not doing too good. Ah, shit, that damn thing on the bulletin board. You know?
I have noticed some newer captains having morning meetings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
And they kind of get made fun of about it a little bit. People poke fun. And
Yeah.
I never say anything, but thought to myself, like, yeah, okay, whatever. But the more I think about it,
The more it
it's
sounds
not
like
a-
a good
it's not a
idea.
bad thing.
What's the most effective tool in the fire service?
the Halligan
Us.
bar.
Communication.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go with that. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It alleviates so many issues.
You know why that's funny? It's because it's coming from Mr. Non-texting
Yeah.
back guy.
Says it's group chats. I take my watch off and I throw it on the floor.
I'm going to text them back here in a little bit. But you went days. Days.
It's
And we still haven't got a text back in that group.
it's the problem. Like if all your friends take off jogging and you're an hour behind them, you just don't go jogging because you're not going to catch up to them. That's how I feel with the group checks. It's like you have 90 unread messages. I'm like, they're going to stay unread. Guess I'm not
There were
getting
like
caught up.
3.
It's hard.
I get it.
And actually, I mean, it was probably like 10, but 7 of those we were just making fun of each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I literally scrolled through. I'm like, that's my name. What did it say? Oh, fuck them. All right, let's go.
All right, he's out of the group chat.
But like communication, it's simple. Like our department put us through how to properly communicate on the radio. You know, like just, and it's the same.
Well, and I think that's the big caveat is proper communication, not just communication. Because there are things you can say hey, if something's bothering you, come see me. There's ways that you can say that and get your point across and for it to be real to that person and they feel comfortable doing that. And there's also ways that you can say it that they're going to be like, okay, he said that, but I ain't going to talk to that guy.
You know, here's what's interesting though, is if I actually had a captain say it to me, just the fact he said it, I think would be enough communication. I don't care how he said it. It's the fact that he said it.
Well, but that's you and your perception.
Yeah, fair enough.
So,
You got to remember when you're brand new. You were new. Whatever.
Yeah.
But before, you're still recently new.
Yeah.
So when you go into those stations and you're meeting these people, you're a little intimidated.
yeah, and how many times have you been set up for a practical joke?
The amount of times.
So I
Actually, I take it back. I only happened twice. And they were both on Sunday. Like, hey, there's a phone call for you on the circuit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And now you
Yeah.
got to watch the 30-year guy doing dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or squeegeeing the floor
Yep.
or wash. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, there is, whenever you're new, that's something that's in the back of your mind. Is like, is this real or is this a setup?
Are they testing me right now?
Yeah. Are they testing me? What's going on? So, yeah, I mean, so that's
beta dues.
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, look,
If you're doing dishes,
we
don't
love-
answer the phone.
yeah, we love practical jokes on the fire department. It's something that we do. It kind of breaks the tension, kind of brings everybody together when it's done correctly. You got some guys who are just not good at practical jokes and they take it too far, whatever. That stuff happens. But
We've got one going on at my station right now. It's just been like a 2-week running joke, and it's great.
they can, it brings everybody together, makes you feel like you're part of the guys. you know.
How many times have you
part
heard
of the crew.
it's when they stop busting your balls is when you should be concerned?
Exactly. So, I mean, that is what it is. But that's why I say proper communication, or, you know, making it clear. So that's just my point of view.
Yeah. No, that means you're
And,
right.
you know, because everybody perceives things differently. Just like, you know, trauma's trauma, but everybody's reaction to it is different. And what's traumatic to you may not be traumatic to me. So, and that brings us back to the pediatric thing that you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of those calls where, excuse me, that came out of nowhere. That's one of those calls, though, that I think you need to have that sit down
Yeah.
immediately.
I firmly
Because
agree.
after the pediatric call, if you're on the ambulance, whether you're the medic or the EMT, you know you're taking 2 from the fire truck. Even if you're a department that runs 3, you're taking 2. I don't care what your policies say, because you need the hands. And it's extremely stressful. And you're going to have to restock everything and clean everything up. And you might as well go out of service for 10 to 15 minutes to de-stress. And sit down and have that conversation. And not just, hey, okay? Yeah, okay, cool. And go on. No. We're going to sit down and talk about this for a second. It doesn't make you look weak. It's not a knock to you and your manhood or your womanhood or anything like that. It's to make sure you can deal with it, because most of us are parents. A lot of us are on these jobs. I couldn't imagine losing a child at that age or at any age.
You know, I feel bad for like PD, for example. Like sometimes on those calls gets there before us, and not. I don't mean don't know what to do because they're stupid, but just like
They're not trained.
they're not trained. It's to be the same as putting me in a SWAT operation. I'm like, this gun's cool.
Yeah.
It-
Dude, I remember
just the mental health of them wishing they could do more. Not like
I remember a particular call, and this has been probably 13, 14 years ago. We got a call for unresponsive pediatric, and we showed up, and of course, you know, the family's going crazy. It ended up being like a SIDS thing. But the cop that responded to the call with us beat us there. And he's in there, and, you know, he comes running out with the baby, and he's doing CPR, and he did a fantastic job. Because, you know, infant CPR is different than, I'm talking to 2 medics here. Of course you guys know. But for everybody watching, if you didn't know, infant CPR,
What's CPR?
is a little bit different than...
that stuff you make your EMT do.
Yeah. I don't do that.
That's compressions.
Hey, deeper. Not deep enough. Faster. Slow down.
Hey.
So, but he was doing a great job. He was doing it correctly. Brought the baby out to us. We took over, got it in the ambulance, you know, and off they went. But the whole scene was so chaotic. I mean, the family was, of course, going crazy, yelling at everybody. So it was a bad scene. And the look on this guy's face, and you could tell he'd been on for quite a while, and I don't know if he'd run calls like that before or whatever, but just the look on his face, you could tell it affected him. And I think that's like what you said, those calls, I think, by and large, I don't know nobody that I know on the job is unaffected by those calls.
No, I wouldn't make a comparison to
Yeah.
kids and no kids.
I remember I had one that came in as just a pediatric sick. So in our department of six, just kind of like, we don't know what the hell it is, so just throw it in this category type dispatch.
Yeah.
We get there, and I think it was like the aunt or somebody was a 6-month-old. She meets me door, and she's like, he's gone. And I'm like, he left already? And she's like, yeah, he's gone. And I'm like, why is there a baby laying on the bed not moving? And she's like, oh, yeah, he's in there. I'm like, this kid's fucking dead. Like, oh, my God. Like, and I literally, I turned around and looked at her. I'm like, what the F? Like, it was just like this rush, A, being caught off guard, B, what the hell are you doing, lady? And C, what the hell are you doing, lady? Like, just, and then, too, like, not only the initial shock of it because you're not ready for it, because, you know, in critical calls, house fires, whatever it may be, the time to the call is your preparation, mental, getting your gear ready, whatever it may be. It is your like getting your mindset ready to deal with it, whatever task.
Right.
I start going over the possibilities in my head and what I'm going to get ready to do.
But even still, sometimes we're still met with the unknown, which is our job to adapt and overcome.
Right.
But still, we're human. There's just that emotion of just like shell shock. And then, we get into our job. But it was one of those, I was just so like, hey, my game plan was already thrown off from the get-go. And now it's just trying to grab straws, trying to get back into center just to get things done. So,
yeah. I mean, those calls, for me personally, and I don't have children. I've got nephews and nieces.
and a Jeep and dogs, yeah.
Yeah. But those calls are still affect me more than any other call I've ever ran. And yeah, they suck. And you have to deal with them. And, for a long time I didn't. Like that call that I just talked about. I didn't deal with that for a long time.
Yeah, you just get back on the rig.
Yeah. It's like, man, that sucked. I'm fine.
The biggest thing I've known for me, and I don't know about other people, but for me it's ability to rationalize. If I can rationalize it, I'm okay. This happened because of this. Sometimes this is somebody's stupidity. Sometimes it's negligence. Sometimes it's just your heart was bad. So it's just whatever. But you can rationalize it.
Yeah.
It's the ones you can't rationalize. You want to pull your hair out over sometimes. Just
Yeah. That's the absolute truth. It's whenever there is no rationalization for it.
This was a lot lighter episode than than most. It seems like, even though we talked about like some worse things more than most, it was like still nice to just kind of touch on the things that actually are working.
Yeah.
For so much as we're like, the world's coming to an end.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not.
It's kind of like, but not tomorrow.
The sky's not falling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're 50 years behind where we should be.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't even think that we're 50 years behind.
The 70s was 50 years ago.
What?
Shut up.
Just saying.
Oh, you guys are 70s babies, aren't you?
I was the 80s.
80s.
Oh.
Almost 70s.
My wife was a 70s baby.
But no, we are behind, yes. You can't refute that or deny it, but I don't think that we're that far behind. What I think is I would say we're 20 years behind. The world has changed so dramatically since 2000, 2001.
9/11.
9/11 was a big one, but we didn't have things in place that we should have then.
Yeah.
So when you start looking at studies and books that were written on mental health and just in the general population, there's a big push in the 70s for it. And if we would have applied those to first responders then at just that level,
Yeah.
and built on it as we went,
Well,
where would we be right now? We wouldn't be doing this.
So, and I talked about, I think it was a first or second podcast, I mentioned a book, The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk. I mean, he was doing research in the late 70s, early 80s on PTSD from, World War II veterans, Korea veterans, Vietnam veterans. And it seems like, and this is the layman's term, so don't shoot me if I'm wrong, but a lot of what we're doing now is things that he was doing then. Like he kind of wrote the book on it, but it seems like it's been a slow uptake of people recognizing the value of his work. And that could be just a layperson's, because I didn't know anything about it. I mean, it could be widely
I think
acknowledged.
in the circles of mental health professionals, it's probably widely known. But for us out here,
yeah,
because you don't know. You don't.
I do wonder if like mental health professionals just laugh at us sometimes. Like, told you.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I think with the advent, and we'll go back to 2001. I think being in basically a war for the last 20 years and having those military members come back with the PTSD, the depression, the addiction issues and all that, it's such a big part of our society now. and we see so many that the push has been there to help them. And by association, it's been recognized that, okay, well, police and fire, they go through the
correlation
same
has finally
stuff.
been made.
Yeah. And that seems to be like, we talk about medicine. A lot of things that were learned in World War I and World War II were then available medically, of things that they, figured out on the battlefield, were, advancements that were made that were brought to the general public. And it seems to be a carryover, with the whole mental health aspect of, hey, man, we should really fix that problem. But it started with the military and then trickled down to the rest of the general population.
Yeah, and things like that usually do, because
It's interesting talking to military guys. You stick a military guy, an officer, a nurse, and a firefighter in the same room. The military guy, will applaud the other three, and they'll tell you every time, I just had to deal with it a year. You guys got to deal with it for a career.
Yeah.
And it's
my cousins told me that, and he was tank commander in the Army.
yeah, it's fascinating just the wherewithal those guys have. To me, it's all it's equal across the board. They see stuff over there that I hope to God we never have to see here.
Yeah.
But
and it's perception, and your own personal perception. So, the recovery program I went through was for military and first responders. So I was in there with, Special Forces guys, Air Force guys, Marines, Navy, whatever, and a couple other firefighters. And by and large, it's that same thing, like what Chris Anderson talked about of, you went through this and then this person went through this, and you sit there and look and go, oh, well, that's like way worse than my stuff. And that's the comparison thing again. The main difference, I think that I drew from it in, talking to those guys was it's no different. Trauma is trauma, like I've said, and it affects everyone differently. Some people get through it. Some people need some help, whatever. The difference in the trauma between us and them is we're seeing it with the public by and large. We're not seeing, I'm not seeing you get hurt or killed. It does happen. Thankfully, it's a lot rarer, right? And that's what they were dealing with, of seeing their buddies get hurt and all this and all that. On the flip side of that is we're going to run a call at this house, and then I'm going to drive by that house every day. And I'm going to think about the pediatric code that we ran there, or the guy who got his arm cut off, or the car wreck where it killed a whole family, or, whatever. We're going to see that every day until you move out of the neighborhood or move out of the city. And I think that's the difference, but it's also the similarity.
I was talking with a buddy of mine. It was in the Army. And this was a couple of years ago, and I was talking about a bad call, and he's like, dude, that sounds terrible. And he was like, I could never imagine going through anything like that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, because his story is like, Humvee, minding his own business, sitting in the Humvee, and the one that's before him hits mine and explodes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't even rationalize just, if a couple fire trucks are driving down the road and one all of a sudden just explodes.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. That's a career thing, and that's just like a normal day for them.
Yeah.
Not normal, but
Yeah.
acceptable day. And that's not good to say, but it is. And he's here like, oh, man, I don't know how you ran that fire with that body. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how you saw that.
Yeah. Well, and I think we go back to the risk and risk analysis of whenever you go into a certain job, like whenever people go into the military, and specifically like they're going into the infantry or they're going into special forces or the SEALs or whatever, you kind of know what to expect with that job.
Yeah.
Just like whenever you go into the fire service, you kind of know what to expect. And it's two different things. Now, but you don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if you go in the military, sand, hot, terrorists. You go to the fire service, fires, wrecks, dead people.
Yeah.
It's You don't know what you're going to see, but you get it.
Yeah.
You walk into a bathroom or sporting event. I'm walking in urine. You just know.
But knowing what you're going to see and experience and then actually experiencing it are two different things. You could take that all the way back to sports. You can sit there and you can watch that lineman or whatever position you want to talk about execute a block. You can't just from sitting there watching it go out and reproduce and do that exact thing.
Yeah. Or you can sit and shoot free throws till you're blue in the face and make them and make them and make them and make them. All of a sudden it's tie game, 1 second left, and you're up on the free throw line. It's not the same.
Yeah. Stress.
Unless you're J.J. Redick. God, he's clutch.
That's a Duke boy. But stress is that contributing factor of doing things under that stress. And it makes things way harder.
Have you seen the movie Glory with Matthew Broderick, Morgan Freeman, and Denzel Washington?
Yeah, but it's been a long time.
So he was a commander of the 54th Massachusetts, which was the first all-color regiment in the Civil War. Mm-hmm. There's a scene in the movie where they're practicing shooting, and some of the guys are great. A couple of the guys are really good, and they're hitting the bottles, and they're all like hooting and hollering and having a good time about it. So he just walks up and starts shooting his pistol off next to the guy's head. He's like, "Come on, reload. Hit your target. Let's go. You're so good. Hit your target." He couldn't hit it. And that's, it's kind of similar to us. Like, we can drill in the academy. We can talk about things at the kitchen table. Until that pistol's going off next to your head or until you're in that fire with the heat, it's just a different ballgame.
Yeah. Well, that's why you drill and drill and drill and drill and drill and drill so that it's not a conscious thought. It's a muscle memory thing that and that's from a military perspective of, how to reload and do this and do that. I think the fire service may be a little bit different.
Well, something I was thinking about the other day, so our department's getting new air packs, right? Mm-hmm. So we drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled on those air packs. I can, it's like a Marine with his rifle. You know it inside and out. You can operate on the dark. You know everything about it. And the same with our air packs. We have to, and, rough situations, we have to know how to plug into each other's packs to conserve air, mm-hmm. whatever it may be. And we were getting new air packs, and it was just that, like, I hesitated, because that's a new proficiency I have to learn. It's kind of scary for a minute because that's our lifeline. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those like, dang, I'm going to have to learn this all over again. It's work.
Well, and to think about it from our perspective. You've been using that air pack for 4 years. Good. We've been using that air pack for 16.
Yeah.
Close to 17 years. That's a lot of habits to break. Now, thankfully, it's an air pack. It's not that complicated. It's not like,
To us, it's not.
Right.
You put a stranger up.
Yeah, but you put somebody else up there and, hey, this is totally different. Not really. Principle's still the same. You got a few more buttons. They're in different locations. It's just develop the proficiency. And which leads us back to mental health of, yes, the situations you may go through may be different, but the skills are going to be the same or maybe just need to be tweaked, with the coping. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember when I was in the academy, we didn't all have radios, right? So to practice, or drilling, doing maydays and stuff, we used the digital readout, the regulator on our air packs,
Yeah.
pretend to talk into those. And so I was drilling with a truck company one day when I first got to the academy, and we were going over that, and it was a rescue company, and they're like, all right, call your mayday. And I was like, like, what in the hell are you doing? And they looked at me like I was an idiot. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's how we did it in the academy. I'm like, idiot, the radio's in your left pocket, but muscle memory.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the bad habits.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they looked at me like I was a damn idiot. And I looked at them like, what? That's how we did it in the academy?
Yeah. Well, but unfortunately, that's one of those things where you learned a bad habit for the sake of training because you're short on equipment. You can't do that. I mean, that's something that could cost somebody their life. Mm-hmm. No, we'll take turns. And wear the radio. That's something for me, that I've thought about and talked to other people about a little bit is setting up my gear exactly the same every time. I know where everything is just because of where it's at on my body. That way I don't have to think about it. I don't have to, whenever I'm in a fire, go, oh crap, where's my whatever? Because I know it's right here. I put it there. It's still there. It's attached. And I know I can reach wherever and get whatever I need. I wear my axe on the same side. My light's always in the same place. Radio's always in the same place.
I always forget my light.
Yeah.
That and I've had like 4 stolen from me. Or they were reacquired.
Reallocated.
So, like, whatever. I just use the rig ones, and I'll grab it, I'm like, oh, it's dead. Great.
Well, yeah, we won't get into that.
Just my night vision. My night vision I got.
Oh, so final thoughts.
Which just turns into a Jerry Springer episode.
I mean, we could fight.
You watched Jerry, right?
Yeah.
That might have been...
It was on regular TV. You had that channel.
I did not actually have that channel.
You didn't get regular TV down in Louisiana?
I did. I got regular NBC.
Okay,
That
yeah,
is
he
the
didn't get that
only
channel.
channel I had.
Oh.
So at the end
No
of
wonder
every
that
episode,
state's-
Jerry Springer does
No
his
wonder that
final
state's
thoughts.
turned blue.
Dude, I grew up 3.5 miles down a dirt road. Yeah, no. And there was one TV station that we could pick up with our antenna. Cable was not a thing.
You can get one of those big, like, redneck dishes in your yard?
No.
Like 8-foot suckers?
Yeah, no. There was no paying for that.
I think
Let's just say I grew up lower middle class.
Fair.
I had a job when I was 10 years old.
Does throwing hay count as a job? Because I had one of those too. It sucked.
Yeah.
Especially I was a kid with allergies that they just didn't care about. So
I-
I was just out there throwing hay, just covered in rashes. And
Yeah. Dude, I bucked hay bales. I
that
cut
$5 an hour,
grass. I picked corn.
I was like 6 cents a bale.
Yeah.
You throw all day and they're like,
Doing
here's
the
your $30
corn-
check.
Doing
And
the
I'm
corn
like,
husk
"Great."
thing sucked.
Yeah.
Did that through hay bales at one time.
Yeah. So
I hated throwing
yeah.
hay. I was on a hay crew every year and I hated it.
I had a paper
We'll just
route.
say that I grew up country. So yeah, the one TV channel that we had
He only had
and
one
it-
shoe and had a hole in it.
walked uphill to school both ways
In the snow. It's the Louisiana snow, so you know it's bad. Why does it smell swampy?
And once our big TV went out,
Gator
we set our
chasing
new TV on top of the other TV. Yes.
We did that.
Yes.
Yeah, we did that too.
Yeah.
Everybody did.
That's just an 80s thing, I think.
I mean, this was early 90s, but like the TV we had, it was color TV, but it had, I don't know, it was maybe 25 inches, I guess, but it was like in the big case, you know? Mm-hmm. And to change the channel, before we got a remote, like, had this little like flip down panel with a keypad. So you had to like,
Wow.
as a little kid,
You had the keypad?
yeah.
We
It's
had
like
a
as a little
knob.
kid, you know,
I
like,
had a
if you
knob.
wanted
I
to
had
change
the
it.
keypad. I had the remote that was attached to a cord at one
But you
time.
grew up rich, man.
But yeah, like,
Did not grow up rich.
you know, you're sitting crisscross applesauce, you want to change shelves, you're like, scoot, 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 scoot up to the TV, scoot, scoot, scoot back.
He said crisscross applesauce. You want to play some Heads Up 7-Up too?
Oh, my God.
I think the big one for me today is especially too, it's not all, like we are doing the right things. Things are getting done, but we have to trust the process, but always strive to improve the process.
Right. And I think consistency is the thing. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely see the changes. I'm happy about most of them. Would I like stuff to go faster? Absolutely.
That's the big piece.
Yeah.
But it's the consistency. Like, for me, it needs to be consistent work. And that's the thing with mental health that we kind of talked about is it's consistency. You have to stay on top of it. It's not a one and done. And that's something that people need to realize is that, yeah, you can have this problem. You can go do your treatment. You can come out and you can think the world's all hunky-dory and great, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have a problem again. The stresses don't go away. Mm-hmm. You know, the things that you were dealing with when you were in treatment are still there, and they're still going to be there. It's totally up to you how you handle them and how you let them affect you.
I think the other thing I've learned today too is this, especially like for current leaders, potential leaders, whether you're, sergeant, lieutenant in the police department, captain on the fire service, charge nurse in an ER, like just make it known, like even if you don't want to be the person that people come to with the problems, if you're not ready for that, just delegate it. If you're a captain, make it your driver. If you're a charge nurse, make it, just your floating nurse, whatever for the day. Just say, hey, here's our outlet for this. Here's our expectations for the job. Here's our expectations for yourself and your own mental health and well-being. Just make it a daily routine.
Yeah, part of the general conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, any final thoughts for the day?
I think got hit. Just
All right.
You want the information to be accurate.
Yeah.
I like to see a dip in numbers, but
I mean, we're all hopeful that it will come, and eventually, you have to hope that it will. Is if we keep doing the work, eventually.
That's the hard part, is getting people to keep doing the work. But I think what our last guest was talking about with the generational changes and how they see things, I think that helps. I do. That's going to be, because those are the future leaders, which is, it was scary when we came on that we were the future leaders. And now that's one. That scares the hell out of me. But, it's making it a habit.
Yeah.
I kind of compare, I did it in my paper. I compared mental health and you as a person to a tree. You're the trunk. Mental health, physical health, those are all your roots. You got to have healthy roots. If you don't have healthy roots, the tree's going to fall.
Yeah, it'll wither and die.
So, got to make sure your roots are healthy.
Yeah. All right.
God, the immature in me just was like, you gotta be a tree. And I went back to like 6th grade, like, look at my branches.
Kind of weird ass school did you go to?
So, you ever had to play a tree in any play?
No.
No, man.
I was always the lead.
Yeah.
I was not.
I was never in one of the plays.
Yeah.
I was the fat kid that made up the fat, whatever role. Like, we need a rock, pick the fat kid. We need a big tree, pick the fat kid. So, that was a tree.
All right. Well, that explains a lot.
What?
Nothing.
I'm a
man.
great damn tree, thank you.
Yeah.
Even better rock.
Look at my branches.
Yeah. I've tried to wake you up a couple times. I know you're a rock.
Your mom didn't have any trouble waking me up. Oh!
Not going to go there. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for stopping by. And like we always say, if you are having a problem, reach out to somebody. Resources are out there. If you know somebody that's having a problem, talk to them. Make them aware of the resources, because not everybody knows. So take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Thanks.